Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Star Trek The Mirror War. This is issue 0, and it's the beginning of what could be really, truly, genuinely amazing. This gets me a little bit excited. Not fully excited, and I'm going to explain why. And it's something that I've had a problem with IDW for a while and what I believe is holding them back. But that being said, let's talk about who made this comic book and we'll move on from there. The writers are Scott and David Tipton, they are absolutely killing it with this story, man. Holy crap, I'm loving it. Artist Carlos Nieto, colorist DC Alonso, and letterer Neil Uyatake. This is in issue 0. So what it's mostly doing is it's moving the forward. It's supposed to move the story forward a little bit or get you caught up with some things. Meanwhile, the people who are already on what happened before this, like me, we can now see exactly what part of the world or what timeline or what time period we're in, right? What it also does is it serves to retcon a good portion of what happened in here. The most important retcon to remember or to recognize here is that now the ISS Enterprise D, remember it was stolen by Picard and his people, Riker and all them. They stole the freaking Enterprise D. That was the experimental holy crap ship. Here, now they're working for them. So even though it is that, it's a retcon that actually makes sense though, because while they're working for the Empire itself, the Earth Empire, it's not anywhere near what it used to be. The fact is, it's they're at the end of the meeting with the Emperor, the Vulcan Emperor who feels emotions. Whatever, he's not Romulan though. He says as they're walking out, "We don't forget that you stole that ship. We decided to gift it to you because, of how good you've done, but don't think that we can't rescind that gift." So it's like, okay, I see what they did there. Suddenly they're saying, yes, you did steal from us, but we're going to have you work for us anyway because blah, 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 blah. And somehow the crew of the Enterprise decided, sure, let's work for them. Instead of doing for piracy things, we'll do for our own things. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that. It kind of, it's a weird kind of retcon that takes what was a really great pirate story and turns it into, well, now the pirates work for these guys. So they're not really pirates anymore because now everything they do is justified by where they go, as opposed to they're out there, they're all by themselves. They're not going to be hunted by their own people anymore. They only have to worry about the bad guys out there in space, the Klingon Kardashian alliance empire, which was bad enough to begin with, right? And going back and forth through their own mirrorverse to deal with the actual crew that we all know of the starship USS Enterprise. They're continuing with that story also where Barclay was. Barclay's such an interesting character, and they've done more in this IDW comic book with Barclay than anybody else has anywhere else. And I love, I cannot stress enough, I love what IDW has done with that. And I believe that this could wind up being a really great television series at some point that I don't care if it's CBS or Paramount. You only have 25% of what we are, so they're fighting each other and whatever. I don't care. The Kelvin universe, the standard universe, I don't care. This could be its own thing, the mirror verse. Oh, and it could just be amazing, absurdly amazing. It would be better than Picard. It would be better than all the other shows that are at Discovery, all those shows that are out there. I have zero doubt about it. But just seeing the comic books should be enough on its own, but it's not. And it's the one thing that I feel has always been holding IDW back from being a real competitor for Marvel and DC, and that is the art. I can't blame Carlos Nieto for the art in this. What DC Alonso does in this is fantastic, and it really fits. The colors synonymously with the Mirrorverse and the one and only Voyager issue that they had for the Mirrorverse and the few other Mirrorverse comic books that they've had. I'm telling you, the colorists have always been the ones that keep the art grounded. But as far as the pencils themselves, this is the worst that I've seen yet. And it's the worst not because Carlos Nieto is necessarily a bad artist. I don't know what kind of artist he is, but I know the style that IDW continues to hire and or propagate. Their particular art style is so cartoonish that I feel it really holds back from great series like this. Look, when IDW is doing the Marvel work, right? When they're taking these Marvel stories and saying, we'd like to license some of your Marvel characters. Nobody licensed, like Dynamite doesn't license the way that IDW does. You know what I'm saying? Not entirely true, but really of the two companies that license product more than anybody else, Dynamite and IDW would have to be the two major factors in that, you know? But these guys, man, they just have this standard of art. There's like, I want people to immediately recognize an IDW comic book. Yeah, that's what your logo is for. But as far as by the art style, you can't tell me that the art that's the Marvel comics that you guys do that is done for, I feel like I'm talking to them. Doubt they're going to be watching this. The art that IDW does for the kids' versions of the Marvel comic books should not be the same as this, where it's really intense. There's not just killing, but there's actual murders in here. There was an assassin in here that threw 2 knives into Picard's back before the guy dislocated his shoulder and then chased him away. I'm like, yes, this is stuff that I love about the Mirror War stuff, the Mirrorverse stuff, the Mirror, right? In the Star Trek universe. This is the stuff that I pay to see. But unfortunately, they just have this, whatever it is, Ted Adams and all the guys in charge of IDW, it's like they just say, only hire artists who either do draw this way or can draw this way and will draw this way. And eventually you see this stuff at the dollar store, and that doesn't mean anything. You always see stuff at the dollar store. You know what I'm saying? But I see this stuff at the dollar store, and a lot of times it's like, I would love to read this, but I would love for it to be a different art style. When these books first came out, I can't remember the name of the artist who was doing it, but my God, man, he killed it with his pencils. Absolutely killed it. And it was like, wow, this work is so good. And then IDW is just like, hey, here's something that's popular. Let's streamline it. But by streamlining it, they said, let's put our typical art stamp on it. And that just kills. It kills the comic book dead for me. I want to continue reading this, and maybe I will. I doubt I'll be doing reviews on it, though, because I'm always going to run into the same roadblock. Story was really good, but the art was pathetic. And again, that's not an insult to Carlos Nieto. He was hired specifically to do this art style. I don't even have any insiders at IDW. I don't know anybody who works, I don't think so, who works at IDW. But I do know that when it comes to their work, you can always tell an IDW comic book because it's the same cartoonish art. And I know that artists were originally, comic books were originally called cartoonists, but that changed. Jack Kirby, the original cartoon, not really the original cartoon, but you get what I'm saying, changed comic books forever. Forever. You can't deny his influence. And even if people didn't imitate his style, or, his specific art, they did imitate his style, right? And this IDW style, this is going to kill every single comic book that they do. This art style is going to make it so they will always be the kiddie backseat drivers of the comic book industry that are going to make just enough money to pay the bills and to keep the lights on, but they're never going to move forward and wind up being this powerhouse that they could be, especially with stories like this. If they didn't just have streamlined art and say, this is our style. It's so evident that that's what they do. There's no way that all these people are accidentally all having the same art style. It's terrible. And IDW, I promise you, could be one of those major players with what they do if they didn't have this cartoonish imprint for their comic books. Anyway, guys, that's that. If you can get by the standard cartoonish art that they propagate, then you will enjoy this. If you're a Star Trek fan, I can't imagine a single, even casual Star Trek fan that won't look at this and say, this is different and very welcome. But that being said, that's really all I got. I will talk to you guys later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Like the video, watch an ad. Class dismissed.